Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. This morning we're here to announce the takedown of yet another organized crime ring here in Florida, and it's another example of Florida's great law enforcement doing what it does best, working together to take down crime and deliver results. So I want to thank the many representatives here from our local sheriff's offices, police departments, our new statewide prosecutor, Brad McVeigh, Stephanie Bergen from his office, who was lead on this case. You'll hear from her later. And our Clearwater Police Department, Major Michael Hasty. This example is another example of what happens when people are released over and over again. So today we're announcing 6 arrests, but a number of these individuals have a laundry list of priors, over a dozen in some cases. And it shows that when we are soft on crime, when we are lenient and let people out, they often reoffend and they hurt others. This network is responsible for over 200 break-ins. These guys and gals would go around the state. They would often target women. They would follow women. They would bust into cars or steal purses once they were unattended. But it wasn't just personal property that was stolen. It was then personal identification information that was often used in fraudulent behavior to further steal and commit financial theft. So I'm proud of our law enforcement here in Florida. We have the best law enforcement in the country, the best sheriffs, the best police departments. Every time we do one of these things, it's a great honor to stand by so many different agencies working together. That's what we do here in Florida. We coordinate, we have shared goals, and we want to make this state the safest, strongest, best state in the country to raise a family. So I appreciate what they're doing. Our statewide prosecutors, I got to tell you, we have a record number of arrests and cases since I took office. They are bringing the heat. We're honored to have the new statewide prosecutor, Brad McVeigh, at the helm, and he inherited a really wonderful team that's fighting every day to protect our families. We also have a priority protecting our seniors. Here we've identified 55 individuals, victims in this case, that were senior citizens. We love welcoming seniors here. We're the #1 retirement state, and people that want to prey on them and target them and take advantage of them are going to have a major problem with me. So we're excited to announce this takedown. I'm sure we'll have more to come. We see other states, sanctuary cities in the country really struggling with crime, struggling with aggravated assaults and murders. But here in Florida, we have big cities like Tampa, like Miami, like Jacksonville. We do not see those crime rates. We do not see those murders. And it's because of what these guys up here do. And we have their back every single day. I want to conclude by talking about something we announced yesterday. The U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee rolled out what we all believed was happening, which was targeted political prosecutions and investigations. It was unveiled that almost 100 individuals and political organizations were targeted and investigated by Biden-era officials at the DOJ and FBI. This is wrong. And our preamble to the Constitution, where it starts "we the people," it leads with established justice. And there is no room for malicious prosecution or political witch hunts when it comes to our justice system. So we've begun our own investigation. Many of these organizations, influencers, and political committees, they call Florida home. We want to be the free state of Florida. We want to be hospitable. And if our citizens have been wronged, we will do something about it. So we've launched our investigation. We're looking at all civil, criminal, and civil rights tools available to us. We'll have subpoenas going out within the week. And where people did wrong, we will hold them accountable. So thanks, everybody, for being here today. We'll hear next from our statewide prosecutor, Brad McVeigh.
Thank you, General. This particular case is one that I inherited a few weeks ago. It was probably the first case I picked up and upon coming to office. And it is exactly the type of case that I think statewide prosecution can help and have real value in prosecuting criminals in Florida. This is a case that crosses jurisdictional lines. It's a case that involves individuals who oftentimes would get minimal sentences, and that's because you'd have one case in one jurisdiction. Oftentimes a person will then go over to another jurisdiction, and you get these individual prosecutions. statewide can take that case, put it into a conspiracy, a racketeering, and hold these defendants accountable for the actions that they've taken. As the Attorney General has mentioned, there were something like 200 different criminal events that took place. So 180 days in the county jail is not sufficient. We're looking at first-degree felonies on these defendants, and we are very, very thankful for the work that law enforcement here. They collaborated terrifically, and they are the reason that we have this case. The sharing of intelligence, the operational support they gave one another. We're just incredibly grateful, and we look forward to the continued partnership with these law enforcement entities and the others around the state.
Clearwater Police Department, Major Michael Hasty.
A few brief comments from our perspective. Thank you for being here. I think that our world continues to get smaller in many ways, and I think what we're seeing now from a law enforcement perspective is that offenders are evolving to try to disguise their crimes by moving outside of their jurisdictions where they live and committing crimes elsewhere, doing them quickly and then returning home. I think a few decades ago, at the beginning of my career, that tactic may have confounded law enforcement, but it no longer does. They're dedicated to try and conceal their identities, but I think they didn't count on two things. They didn't count on the dedication of these detectives who were equal to the task to figure out who that they were, to identify, as was stated, over 200 crimes committed by this group, totaling somewhere around $500,000 worth of loss. They also didn't count on the fact that law enforcement is also evolving to the point where we now, as you're seeing more and more local, state, and national levels, that law enforcement agencies working together. No longer are these criminal activities isolated to our own backyards. They cross jurisdictions, and in this case, these detectives each had individual pieces of the puzzle, and then when they got together, they were able to create a picture, and that picture is that these career criminals were traveling around the state, victimizing our residents, targeting, in this case, parking lots where there's a high concentration of vehicles parked, dog parks, sports complexes, shopping malls, places like that, working quickly to commit these crimes, smash your window. You're only gone for a few minutes. You come back, your window's smashed, your stuff's gone, and the credit cards have already been used. So, but for the dedication of the detectives to try to combat those tactics, this case wouldn't have been here where it is today, prosecuted by the Office of the Statewide Prosecutor. And our relationships also not only extend between the agencies, but with you as well. I think it's equally critical that the message that you're here delivering to everybody, that to our community members, that we're working hard to do everything we can to prevent these things from happening when they do happen, to bring the cases against those offenders, number one. And number two, that to those people who are committing these crimes, they need to get the message from you, and I know that they will, that they're going to run into these detectives and they're going to end up in the exact same boat. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And then Stephanie Bergen, our special counsel from the Office of Statewide Prosecution. Thanks for the work your team's done. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So most everything that I would say has been said. The name of this case is Felony Lane Gang. If you are aware, Felony Lane Gang is a organized criminal enterprise that reaches not just the state of Florida, but across the entire United States. From Florida, we have some of these defendants with outstanding warrants in the state of Washington. They've hit Colorado, Oregon, Virginia, Alabama, all over the country. So the work here by the detectives, by law enforcement, was phenomenal. Our analyst, phenomenal, that allowed us to put the pieces of this puzzle together, which is what this is, in order to get arrest warrants, to file an information for racketeering, conspiracy, and organized scheme to defraud. They target people who leave your purses and your bags and your wallets in your car. So the best way to avoid that is to be careful and not do that. So that would be the message I would send. Let's help us, let you help you protect yourselves from these criminals. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie. And our prosecutors do the Lord's work every day. These aren't the highest paying jobs in the world. It's really a calling for people. It's a service. I thank them for what they do. And my office is proposing that the legislature this year add prosecutors to the list of special risk class of retirees. These prosecutors, they are typically the last face that a lot of these offenders see. They go toe-to-toe with evil in the courtroom every day. They're not afraid to do it. They like to do it. But they also have to review, sometimes some really horrific evidence. So I'd like to get them higher compensation and, earlier retirement. I think they deserve it the same way that a lot of other first responders do. But Stephanie, thanks for the work. All right, I think we got time for a couple questions before I got to hit the road if anybody has any. Yes?
Hi there, I'm asking about something separate regarding your stance on reforming Florida open carry restrictions and if there's any active effort to reconsider the law.
So the First District Court of Appeals ruled last week that the state's longstanding prohibition on open carry is unconstitutional, that it's inconsistent with the United States Constitution based on our interpretation of what the founders meant when they wrote the Constitution. So I stand by that. I think the opinion was accurate. Open carry is now the law of the state. But I do remind people there's separate, statutory provisions that restrict the ability to take firearms into schools. There's also, the opportunity for law enforcement to step in where people are acting in a dangerous manner, where they're exposing people to a weapon in a way that's threatening, harassing, intimidating. Look, we are strong in our support of the Constitution, absolutely. We're also strong when it comes down to taking down offenders. So if people abuse their rights, if they engage in violence or threatening behavior, we will hold them accountable.
Sir, the state filed a petition asking a federal judge to join a lawsuit seeking to restrict the availability of the abortion pill, mifepristone. Can you tell us why you got involved in that case?
Well, you could certainly read the complaint to see we're aware of a lot of harms that women and oftentimes young girls are experiencing when they subject themselves to these medications. Oftentimes these medications are sent into the state from out of state and can get into the hands of minors. Now we've got serious legal concerns about Florida's parental consent laws, heartbeat protection laws, you name it. So obviously people can read the complaint and see all of our arguments, but at the end of the day, we believe this is dangerous.
Attorney General, we've seen a number of cases that you've recommended to the governor for execution. In other words, the legal processes have been exhausted, and you're now recommending death warrants be signed. Can you just explain why the pace seems to have picked up and what your office is doing to identify these cases that have run their course and then recommend a death warrant? I think it's 14 or 15 this year, so that's pretty significant. Can you just explain why that pace is significant?
Well, the governor believes in enforcing the law. We have a lot of people on death row. The state spends a lot of taxpayer dollars, to hold them there. The governor ultimately makes the decision to sign death warrants. Our Office of Attorney General makes sure that there's no pending, legal impediment to the governor carrying out that order. When it comes to the pace, look, you had Hurricane Ian, you had hurricanes, you had buildings falling down. We were in the thick of COVID. I don't want to speak for the governor, but I think he was really focused on delivering for Florida citizens. Now that we've gotten, a little bit more bandwidth, you can take a look at these things. I know the governor takes a hard look at every case. He's very concerned about victims, family members that have suffered in many cases for decades and want to see justice levied where it's due.
So is that the reason? Just there have been a number of things that have, sapped the resources of different offices around the state, and now you have more.
It's not my decision to sign a death warrant. We do the legal review. We recommend these cases where there's no legal impediment, where a court of competent jurisdiction has ultimately determined the death penalty is the appropriate sentence. We in law enforcement, we enforce the rule of law. I took an oath, to uphold and defend our Constitution and state laws. We will make sure that somebody has exhausted all of their legal appeals before we move forward. Anybody else?
Lieutenant, any chance we can catch you after this is wrapped up, just about the Clearwater side of things? Lieutenant, is that right?
Major, but that's
Major,
okay.
sorry.
Yeah, that's all right.
Major.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
quality.
Mike also works. I answer to that as well.